Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and we were back here doing a video talking about the New York Mets. As you know, last night, the rumor was, and more than just a rumor, it was a lot of reports that the Mets signed catcher, left-handed hitting catcher, Omar Narvaez. That means that the Mets have now on their 40-man roster, and we're going to talk about the 40-man roster, they will have 4 catchers on the 40-man roster. Narvaez, Tomas Nido, James McCann, and Francisco Alvarez. Now, usually with most teams, they will carry 3 catchers. The primary catcher, the backup catcher, and then the third string catcher that they'll call up from time to time, in case there's an injury, or just to have an extra catcher on the roster. Now, with the Mets, what's interesting about the Mets is they have $39 million that they have committed to both James McCann and Omar Narvaez. Narvaez has a player option for next year, which is 2024. I would assume that he will take that. He will, unless he has a big year for the Mets next year. I expect him to invoke that option. So with him and McCann, that's $39 that's coming to the two of them. It's a lot of money for 2 catchers that last year batted below 200. Now, Narvaez, from my understanding, dealt with a lot of injuries last year, so that's why his offensive numbers were down. But he's a good defensive catcher. He's considered the second best catcher when it comes to framing pitches from pitches from guys on the mound. So he's a very good catcher. And he has a very good batsman, 258 hitter. He's got 51 home runs in his career. He's been to the All-Star game. So he's had a very productive career, and he's at 32 years old. James McCann's also been to the All-Star game, but he's been terrible for the last 2 years with the Mets. And he's got a little over $24 million coming to him, guaranteed over the last 2 years. No opt-outs or anything like that. Now, I bring this up and talk about the Met 40-man roster as they have not announced Narvaez on the 40-man, and they've not announced yet Kodai Senga. Currently, the Mets 40-man roster has 39 players on it. They add Narvaez and Senga onto the 40-man roster. At that point, they will have 41 players. They can't have that. You can't go over that. So somebody's have to go. Now, like I said, normally teams do not carry 4 catchers. So one of these catchers has to go. Alvarez isn't going anywhere. And I don't believe Nido's going anywhere either. And of course, Narvaez, he's not going anywhere. So in all likelihood, McCann is going to get moved. He's going to get traded. I highly doubt they'll release him. I don't think that Steve Cohen will have the stomach to burn $24 million over the next 2 years. That would not be a good business decision. So in all likelihood, he's probably going to get traded. Teams always bring in surplus right before they make a move to divest themselves of a player. Now, we also know, as an aside, that they have Darin Ruf also on the 40-man roster. The Mets would probably be very willing to move him, even release him. He's only making $3 million next year, which is not a crazy amount of money, and he has another year after this. I guess as a player's option. The Mets will never get to that point where they have to worry about that option. But the money on his contract is not unreasonable, and there could be a possibility they release him or maybe even trade him. Players still can get traded. Just because a team like you and me as fans think a player doesn't have value doesn't mean some other team doesn't think he has value. Because we're not professional scouts. We don't read all the analytics and the scouting reports of these different players. Just because we see the result and say, well, he's terrible, get him out of here, nobody wants him. It doesn't work like that. There's always value in a player. But I think that's those two are the most obvious possibilities in this situation. Do not expect any major trades. People mentioned Devers. Devers isn't getting traded. The word is that the Red Sox are trying to sign him. I don't know if the Red Sox are going to be successful, but Devers is not getting moved. And I would not, if I were the Mets or any team, I wouldn't trade for him. I'd wait until he's a free agent. Just got to give him money. I know a lot of people have been bringing him up. Devers is going to get traded to the Mets. He's not getting moved to the Mets. Trust me. Are you going to give up all these young players for him for 1 year? I wouldn't do that. Let him be a free agent, and we'll see what happens. Also mentioned this about Francisco Alvarez. Somebody wrote to me saying that the Mets are going to move him because he's a bad defensive catcher. I have read nothing about his defensive his lousy ability, quote unquote, as a catcher. I've not heard anything about him being a bad catcher. So this person that wrote to me told me I had to look it up. I had to research. I know the Met farm system, as you know. I know the top 10 players in terms of what they could do, what they can't do. And Alvarez's problem is really, as the catcher, is just needs to get experience, and at the higher levels. That's really the issue here. He's got an okay arm. He's okay doing everything. The Mets can live with his catching. And this person also wrote to me that that's the reason why they drafted Kevin Parada, is because he's a good catcher. Kevin Parada is a catcher that can hit. He's a hitter that can catch, meaning that his hitting is way above his catch, and they could probably move him to another position. So I just want to mention that. But again, the Mets have a crunch. Another move is going to happen very soon. Hopefully today. We'll get to talk about it today. About the Mets maybe releasing Darin Ruf, or maybe they make a trade finally to get rid of James McCann. But we'll see what happens. And of course, I will be here to chronicle all of it as we get close to pitchers and catchers, which is less than 60 days away, whatever it is. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. Thank you. And I'll see you later.